Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Oklahoma Ride Along. Thanks for joining me and spending some of your spare time with me. Um, we've got a lot to do today. There's a couple of things that I'm gonna fill you in on from the get-go. First off, as you can see, I found myself a disc. Now, when I left you guys last time, last episode, we were doing some chisel plowing. I got that finished, and that evening, or yesterday evening, actually, when I finished that up, I went back to my mom and dad's house because that's where I'm living at now since I sold my other house to make this all happen. But anyways, went back to mom and dad's, and I got on Marketplace and I started looking around to see if I could find a disc. And I actually did find a disc. This is a International Harvester, so it's fairly old. It's model 37. And I actually paid a little more than I wanted to pay for a disc of this size and of this age. However, I will say that it has been recently refurbished. It had good tires. It's got pretty good disc blades on it. The hydraulic hoses were new. So the good news is, yes, I paid a little more than I really wanted to, but the good news is this thing is pretty much ready to go to the field, from how it looks and from what I was told. So the next thing is, as I mentioned before, we finished up chisel plowing last night, or I finished up chisel plowing last night, rather. And something pretty cool happened. I was able to reclaim a lot of land. In fact, I was able to reclaim some land on each of the 4 fields that I own. So, just real quickly, for example, I'm gonna let you know how much I reclaimed. So, let's go to the map here real quick. So I own 32, 33, 34, and 35. So for field 32, I actually went from 18.11 acres up to 19.15 acres in total. So gained a little over an acre there. For field 33, I didn't really gain too much. There again, I went from 16.01 to 17.10. So there again, a little over an acre. Now down here in 34 and 35 is really where it got interesting. So on 34, I went from 13.64 to 17.89. So that's a gain of a little over 4 acres. So that's pretty cool. I mean, now it's really kind of starting to add up. The big story, though, and this is where I really gained some acreage, is on field 35 here. I went from 15.57 acres all the way up to 22.66 acres. And that was just by plowing under some grass and some scrub and some things like that were not productive anyways. Now I didn't get too crazy. I didn't plow up the side of a really steep hill or anything like that. I didn't plow up the ditch, nothing like that. So I kept it realistic. I just went through and reclaimed some land. So in grand total cultivated acres, I went from 63.33 acres in total, which is what I started with. I went up to 76.80 acres. So just by tilling up some ground that was not productive and wasn't being used, I was able to add almost 13 and a half acres to my cultivated production acres. So that may not seem like a lot right now, but you know, when you're talking about only having about 71 acres total, adding 13 and a half acres, that's a big difference. That's very significant. So let's go hook up to this disc, and we will go down to field 35, and I'll show you what I was just talking about. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're ever watching one of my videos and I'm using a mod and you say, man, I wish I knew where he got that mod from, just ask. I'll be more than happy to fill you in on where I find any of the mods that I use. Try to help you figure out where to find it, who the author is, etc., etc. Because I used a lot of great mods, and I want to give these modders that work so hard on these mods, I want to give them credit when you guys want to know where it came from. So let's go right across over here to field number 35. And if you guys haven't seen any of the prior videos, of course I would encourage you to go back and take a look at them. But what we're doing here is it's the second day of early spring. I'm playing with seasons, and I am on 6-day seasons. So what we're doing now is we are trying to get field 34 and 35 ready to plant some spring wheat. Now, spring wheat is not something that we typically do here in Oklahoma. However, since I just took possession of my late uncle's farm here, I did not have a chance to get the wheat put in the fall. So we are trying to get caught up and get some of this work done so that we can have a crop this year. Now, the other two fields, 32 and 33, those are going into, I believe I'm put soybeans in 32, and corn is going to go into 33. I do believe that is my plan going forward. Now, I've got to be kind of conscientious with the money that I spend, because that $17,265 up there in the corner, that's all the money I've got. And the good news is I don't have a loan right now, so I can take out a loan. The bad news is I don't really want to take out a loan unless I absolutely have to. So we're going to see where we get to. I may end up having to take a loan to get the soybeans and the corn put in. It's going to depend on how many contracts I can do, and I decide that I want to do, and how skimpy I want to go on the fertilizer and all that stuff for this first crop of my farming career. So as you guys can see, as I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, this 35 is where I really got a lot of gain. I went from 15 and a half acres all the way up to just over 22 and a half acres. So that's a significant gain. So this just one field right here, I added 7 acres, and this is how I did it. Like as I said, I'm not getting crazy. I'm staying far away from the trees, far enough away from the trees to stay realistic. I didn't plow up any steep grades. This map is based in Oklahoma, in western Oklahoma, and a lot of the soil in western Oklahoma is sandy. Therefore, if you are not careful, you can have serious erosion problems when you're practicing full tillage. A lot of farmers in Oklahoma these days go to either a no-till or a minimal till or a strip till type of a practice to try to promote good soil health. But since I had a couple of fields that needed to be plowed and I wanted to extend some of these fields, I went ahead and pulled the chisel through some of these areas. So we're going to go through here with the disc. Disc is working great so far. It's not a bad match for this tractor. This tractor actually could probably pull a little bit larger of a disc without a problem, but you know, the price was right, and the disc was in good shape. Not gonna have to throw any money into the disc from the get-go, so that was kind of a plus. It was kind of just a go buy the thing, bring it home, and just get straight to work. So that's good. I will say that this is actually, I was looking at some newer discs, and they were a 3-point disc, which I really didn't want, and they were about the same price, and they were even narrower than this disc. So this is gonna work until I can get my big case 4490 going, so that I can use some of my larger tillage equipment. This is going to work out okay. You know, if I'm just getting my, I'm just sort of getting my feet wet, so to speak, and just trying to get this first crop of the year in, so I can have a little bit of income this summer. So I want to thank you guys. That I've had a lot of very positive feedback from the first couple episodes, and I know that the first episode was just kind of an intro. I know that the second video didn't have any gameplay really. It was just kind of talking about my philosophy on when it comes to Farming Simulator. I did get a little bit close to that tree. It was not intentional, but anyways, I know for several of you, probably episode 2 was not was maybe not all that interesting. I hope you enjoyed episode 3, and this is now episode 4. So I really appreciate you guys coming along to follow along with me and ride along. I also want to thank a lot of you guys. You've given me, you've made a lot of comments to the previous videos, and you've given me a lot of ideas about different mods, different gameplay type mods that I can use to make my gameplay more realistic and solve some of the issues and challenges that I face and that I talked about in episode 2, keeping my Farming Simulator experience realistic enough. So I want to thank you guys for the comments. I want to thank you guys for the suggestions. If you have a suggestion, if you have a constructive criticism, you know, whatever, please let me know in the comments, because I really do. I read all the comments. I think I respond to most, if not all of them, and I just really I appreciate you guys' feedback very much. I think I'm gonna see how I line up here and see about a little in-cab view. I don't really, I'm not using any AI helpers. I am using Courseplay some. I'll be honest, I use Courseplay to get the plowing done in a couple of these fields, because if you guys will remember from previous episodes, I only actually had to chisel field 32 and field 34 field 33 and 35, which is this field. The fields themselves did not need to be plowed. I do have periodic plowing turned on in my game, trying to make it, trying to make it fun, trying to keep it real. In the future, probably what I'll do instead of like pulling a chisel, when I get a little further into the game, I'll probably for plowing, I'll probably do something more like ripping, because that's a little more realistic for the type of in real life farming that I'm used to. I'm not a farmer, but I do participate in farming activities. I've got a good friend who has a family farm that's quite large, so I get the opportunity to go and help them some in their busier seasons. They have some pretty nice late model equipment, some pretty large equipment, so it's a good time. I drive a combine for them quite a bit in the different harvests that they have. They grow several different crops. My friends, they grow wheat, of course, which is kind of a mainstay in western Oklahoma as far as farming goes. But they also grow some corn. They grow some soybeans, both full season and double crop behind wheat. And they also have grown some canola in the past. They grow some milo depending on the year. They will grow some cowpeas every year. And in recent years, they have grown sesame. So that's kind of an interesting crop that's sort of new to Oklahoma. So I get the chance to be in real life. I get the chance to be sort of exposed to various different crops at various different times of the year. They're not just wheat on wheat farmers, so I get to harvest in a lot of different conditions, drive tractor in a lot of different conditions, and I've over the years and helping them when I can, I've had the ability to learn how to drive an 18-wheeler, learn how to drive big articulated tractors, big combines. The combines that they run are they're late to later model John Deere's. Right now they've got S780s and S690s, and they run 40-foot flex draper heads, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm not only agriculture is my passion. I am in real life. I am actually an engineer, and my engineering degree is in agricultural engineering with the mechanical option. So I'm basically a mechanical engineer that instead of learning to design drivetrains for cars and buses, I learned to design drivetrains for tractors and combines and hydraulic systems and sprayer applicator systems, and learn to design the electronics associated with those, and etc. So it's really I wanted to be a farmer ever since I was a little bitty. I played with Ertl farm tractors when I was a kid and played with Legos when I was a kid. So the whole time I was growing up, I always wanted to be a farmer, but I'm not from a farming family, and so I really didn't have a place to start. So I went to engineering school instead and got an engineering degree, but it's a very ag-related engineering degree. So anyways, that's a little bit of my background and a little bit of my history, and you can probably tell that that's why I like Farming Simulator. As when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a farmer, and worked for farmers when I was in high school. when I was growing up. All the jobs that I had until after I graduated high school were actually working for farmers, doing various things like baling hay and helping with cattle operations and things like that. So, man, I'm kind of missing a little. I need a row marker for my disc, I guess. Guess I'm thinking that my disc was wider than it really is. That's a fail. Well, I've been looking over the the situation as far as my finance situation goes. And I mentioned in a previous video, I believe, that I don't have any loans and I don't have a loan on the land. The land, all this land that I own, like over the across the road where the barnyard is, and then these two fields right here, I own all this outright. So I don't owe the bank for anything at the moment. So no loans, no equipment loans, no personal loans, no loans on land, and I would like to keep it that way as best I can. Now I know that I'm going to have an equipment loan probably sometime later this year because I don't own a combine, and I own a gravity wagon that I can pull behind the tractor here. But I don't own a grain truck of any kind or a trailer to pull behind my pickup that I can haul grain in. So I have to have a combine for sure before wheat harvest starts, and then of course I'll need one for bean harvest and for corn harvest as well. So I am going to have an equipment loan sometime this year, I'm almost sure, because I don't think that I will be able to. I don't think. Another thing is I don't think I will be able to put all 4 fields into cultivation without a loan. So in other words, the seed and the starter fertilizer for these 4 fields is going to be more money than I have in the bank. So I am going to have an equipment loan before long, and I am going to have an operating loan before long. Now, I don't want to be in debt, and I want to try to get out of debt and get myself, sustainable without having a line of credit at the bank and without having big equipment loans. It's going to take longer, and I may have to take out a loan here or there just to kind of cover my expenses. Or if I want to make, a big equipment upgrade at some point, I may have to take out a loan, but I really want to try to keep it minimized because, for one, in game, it's just a more challenge. It's more of a challenge if I don't just go out and, go crazy and just borrow, millions of dollars from the get-go and just buy a bunch of new equipment. My story for the game is that I've always wanted to be a farmer, and this is the backstory for the game. I've always wanted to be a farmer. My uncle passed away. I took over his farm that was in disrepair. I'm pulling equipment out of the fence row in the back to kind of get started farming. I've got this tractor that's high-houred but runs. I've got another big case that's in the fence row in the back that's also high-houred, and it's got transmission trouble. I don't have money to fix the transmission right now, so that's kind of the backstory for this game for those of you who are just watching it for the first time. I'm not just out here playing Farming Simulator to just be taking recording videos of me playing Farming Simulator. There is a backstory that goes along with this that I'm playing along with. Now, I am showing just a lot of typical gameplay, but like I said, I always like to have a story with my games, and even my games that I play offline that I don't record. I've been playing FS since 2011, and I've always had a story to go along with my farms. So that's kind of loan situation. I am going to have a personal loan before long because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, when I was driving down the road, I'm living with my parents right now. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that's, that's fine. The reason I'm living with my parents is because I sold the house that I owned, and that I was paying on and had some equity in. I sold that to be able to afford this farming deal and this land deal and get things squared up with a bank. So that's the reason why I'm living with my mom and dad. I don't want to live with my mom and dad any longer than I absolutely have to, and so I am figuring out a way to actually move out here to the farm so I can be at the farm all the time. I just have to get a living situation out here sorted, and that's what my plan is. My mom and dad actually live about an hour and 20 minutes away from the farm here, so it's not really all that convenient to be living with them anyways. So I'm gonna have a personal loan, for the living situation. I am. Make sure I'm not skipping. No, I'm doing all right. I am going to have I'm probably going to have an operating loan to get all these crops in the ground. I'm going to try to keep it minimal. And then I am going to have a equipment loan for buying a combine later. So I may, depending on how big my operating loan ends up being, I may not have to take out a loan for the combine, and depending on what size combine I manage to find and buy, I can tell you it's not going to be a new combine, and it's probably not going to be a combine that is very big, because I just don't have the acreage to support that, and I do not have I just don't have the need for that yet, as well as the money. I'm not going to have any income at all until as late as I'm getting this weed in the ground. It's going to be the end of the summer before I have any income at all. So I'm not really going to be able to afford much in terms of equipment and all that sort of thing. Well, I think this video is probably long enough. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for coming along and playing along with my story. I'm gonna get some more of this disking done. I'm gonna finish disking this field, and then I'll have field 34, which is over to the east of here, right across the trees. I gotta have those to get those done, and then next video we should be sowing some wheat. So that's gonna be exciting. Thanks everybody for tuning in and for watching and supporting my channel. If you are here for the first time, I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting and are intrigued by the backstory. And if you feel compelled to like or subscribe, I do appreciate that, and look forward to seeing more videos in the very near future. All right, guys. Thanks again for spending some time with me, and we will see you later on.